So welcome to our U46 Engage ELL. ELL stands for our English Language Learners Department. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us to our How to Advocate for Your Child's Education. Okay, how does that look like? What does advocacy mean? How do we do that? When do we do that? And why should we do that? And so, but before we get started, let me go ahead and share with you a few other things. So just so you know, our presentation today is being recorded. It will be posted on our U46 Engage ELL website, and you'll find the link on the screen here. And we will also follow up with you via email and send you the direct link to the recording and also to the copy of the PDF of the presentation. Well, you'll have access to any links shared with you tonight. If you have any comments or any questions or any kind of feedback tonight, please include that in the chat box that's located, should be located at the bottom of your screen. We do ask that you please help us avoid any background noise by keeping your microphone off or muted. And also, if you have your video on, let's just be respectful of our visual space, please. So if there's something that we shouldn't be seeing, just go ahead and turn off your video. Sometimes we like to move from one place to the other. It could be a little distracted. So just go ahead and turn off your video for that second, but please come back on. We definitely like to gauge our engagement. And for that as well, we invite you to use your reaction options. Give us a little heart for some love, some thumbs up, some clapping throughout the presentation. We love that. And so today we thank Dr. Hilda Rivera for helping us coordinate these U46 Engage ELL webinars. Hilda, thank you so much for joining us today too. And then we have our presenter, Miss Krissa Almurabi, and she is our dual language teacher at Nature Ridge, and she's kindergarten, so the little ones. So she definitely knows what is this advocacy looks on an earlier age, and she also was part teacher at the high school level. So what does that look like at the secondary level? So thank you so much, Ms. Krissa, for sharing all your expertise with us tonight. Definitely something that we need as parents. I am a U46 staff member, but I am also a parent, and I have a kindergartner and I have a high schooler. So I am looking forward to what you have to share with us tonight to be able to put that into practice.
Okay, may I go ahead then? All right, thank you. Thank you everybody for coming tonight. I love to see that we have so many people for this presentation. I do want to clarify that what I thought the presentation was specifically for ELL families or dual language families, but then it was opened up school, district-wide. So please know, if you are not in a dual language program, don't go away, stay. Because this presentation is for all parents. So please don't think that it is only for ELL or dual language. This is for everybody. At the end of the presentation, there will be time for questions. Certainly, if you have questions during this presentation, Carla is going to keep an eye on the chat box for me. So she will interrupt if I need to pause to answer questions. Okay, why this presentation? There were previously several, I should have clarified let me go back and tell a little bit about myself. Okay, this is my 28th year of teaching. I've taught 17 years in U46 and 11 years in other school districts. I have taught everything K through 12 except for 6th grade and 8th grade. But don't think I'm an expert. All teachers are always learning. All of us are always learning. I keep saying I'll finally get it right my last year before I retire. So I do have a lot of experience. that doesn't mean that I can answer every possible question, but please don't hesitate to ask questions during and after the presentation. Okay, the reason for the presentation, two main reasons. The U46 sent out several parent surveys in the past, and parents specifically requested this topic, which is why we're making sure that we get this out to everybody this year. Also, family involvement is critical for a student's academic success. Advocacy is part of that. Probably all of you have already been advocating and didn't realize it. So we'll go on and talk a little bit about advocacy. You have, Carla, the next, or do I hit forward? There we go. The topics to be covered tonight. What does advocate mean? Forming partnerships with schools. Communication, the key to effective advocacy. Resolving conflicts with schools. Preparing yourself for meetings. And then I have 3 specific examples of when you communicate with a teacher, when you communicate with a principal, when you want to go directly to a department level or assistant superintendent level. So those will be at the end, and there will also be time for questions. Here we go. So the big question, what does advocate mean? I'm just curious, could some people put their ideas in chat? Or go ahead and speak up. I want to see. Does anyone have an idea already? It sounds like such an official word, but oh, here we go. Nobody's taking a chance and everybody's being quiet. Does everybody know where the chat box is?
Yes.
Okay, well, maybe I have a shy, someone to go to. Other ideas, probably anything you say on here, speak on their behalf, person who has views or stands up for a thought, to speak up for someone, pushing for what you want, a desired outcome for your child, speak up for oneself, support and speak up for someone. I'm reading all these chats, yay, personal needs and to accommodate those desires. Wonderful. And everybody is right. Okay, isn't it nice when you all get a right answer? To advocate, okay, it sounds very official, but it simply means to speak up. When you have a question or a concern, speak up, ask your question. So if you've been asking questions of your teacher this year, of your child's teacher or teachers, you've already been advocating. An advocate is an ally. So someone who speaks up or stands up for someone else. We can go on to the next screen. Who can advocate? Everyone. All parents and legal guardians. Students. Let's teach our students to also advocate for themselves. Teachers and other school staff. I don't know if everyone realizes how much your teachers are constantly advocating for your children. And then, do you need special training? No. If you can pick up the phone, send an email, you are already on your way to advocating. Okay, 3 important keys for effective advocacy. Develop good relationships with the school staff. So get to know your child's teacher or teachers, who works in the office, who is the school principal. Learn about how the school district works, as in the organization of the school district. And I realize this is a very large school district, so it feels like there's so much more to learn, but think about where your child is starting, the feeder schools, and you will learn about different departments within the district. There are actually huge advantages to being in such a large district because we have so many resources. Also learning about the applicable laws and policies. That does not mean that you need to go out and start studying law and school code. I will address some of the key laws that I want everyone to know about in this presentation. And then also remember to communicate ideas clearly. And this is tricky because we want to use email. Obviously this year, everyone's using email. There are pros and cons to how we use email. So make sure that you're very clear in your communication and reread before you hit send. That's something I always do. Reread it before you hit send. Okay, and the next slide. Forming partnerships with schools. You can go ahead and go to the. Okay, this is really important. Know who to contact in your school. So every school is a little bit different. We're focusing on elementaries. Okay, sorry, your chat just let me put that. Okay, so we're focusing on elementary schools this evening. I know there are planned presentations for advocacy at the secondary level. In your school, you will have a principal. There may or may not be an assistant principal. Know who your school secretary is, the attendance secretary. You will have a social worker that covers your school, and obviously your classroom teacher. But these are not the only people that you need to know about in the school and know how to contact. Schools should have a bilingual liaison, or the person may be referred to as a homeschool liaison. You want to know how to reach your school nurse, PE teacher, art teacher, music teacher. Let's see, did I already mention? Oh, I did double social worker on there. If your child receives special education services, Carla, there's somebody in the chat that probably needs the link again in Spanish. And then schools have a speech therapist, a school librarian. So to find out how to contact all of these people, it's easiest if you just go to your elementary school's homepage. So there will be a drop-down box, staff, and you can see all the staff in that elementary school and how to contact each person. So that would be the easiest way. So if you have a question for the PE teacher, it would be easier, honestly, to go straight to the PE teacher rather than always pass messages through the school office or through the child's classroom teacher. Go directly to who you need to speak with. Okay, we can go on. I just wanted you to know that there are some key people you need to know about. Dr. Carmen Ayala is our State Superintendent of Education. So she works with the Illinois State Board of Education together with lawmakers to guide education here throughout the state of Illinois. So all superintendents of school districts are in communication always with Dr. Ayala. Obviously, everybody should know our superintendent of school district U46 is Tony Sanders. And then because I will also be addressing some ELL issues, know that Dr. Annette Acevedo is our director of the ELL program. And ELL includes both ESL, English as a Second Language services, and our dual language program. Okay. Super important. Does everyone know about the Let's Talk link? This is on the school district website, and I put a little picture of what the button is you're going to look for. I also, I need to share screen. Whoops, Carla, this is your screen, but I was going to show people, or maybe I shouldn't. Yeah, it's already 6:53. Okay, the link is in this presentation. If you have a question or a concern or kudos that you want to share at the district level, you can go to this link, and please see that there are many options. So if you have a question specifically about lunch menus or ingredients or something for lunch, go to that box. If you have a question for the ELL department, you can go to that box. If you're not sure, or you just want to go up as high as you can go with a concern, just click on the option for Let's Talk. Put in your message and someone will get back to you within 2 days. If you are specific and go to a certain department, you will get a quicker response because it's already going to the person that needs to see it. But do use the Let's Talk option on the district website. Okay, we can keep going. Okay. Part of being involved in the school district, that it doesn't mean you have to do it, but please know these are options. Organizations within U46. Every elementary school has a parent-teacher organization. We just call it PTO. There are many ways to get involved with the PTO. One, just please read the emails from the PTO to know about upcoming school events. Often the PTO will be asking for volunteers to help with events. There are usually monthly meetings. Anybody, any parent can attend these meetings. So know that this is always an option for you at your elementary school. Also at the district level, we have the Bilingual Parents Advisory Council. So this is for parents or guardians of students within the ELL program or dual language program. We also have the Community Advisory Council and the African American Advisory Council. If you are interested in getting involved or learning more, please just click on the link in this presentation, and there's contact information in, oops, okay, we have a question. How do you get contact information? Okay, in answer to the question in the chat box, please write in use the Let's Talk link on the district website, what I just showed you on the previous page. And one of the top options is, it just says Let's Talk. Choose that option, write your comment that way. Be sure to give contact information so that they can respond back to your question. I hope I answered the parents' question. Okay, family involvement. Education is a partnership. It's not an adversarial relationship. We're working together. And it starts at home, the most basic things you do already. Oh, he's saying he doesn't have the Let's Talk option. Okay, sir, if you want, you can stay after the presentation and I'll meet with you when we're through. The most important things that parents can do, getting to school every day and on time. So it's not just attendance, it's attendance on time. We have children that are arriving half an hour late, 45 minutes late. They have already missed much instruction. So getting to school on time is very important. Getting enough sleep at night. no matter how much they beg you to stay up and watch a late night movie, eating breakfast and being dressed appropriately for school. And this is important, dressed appropriately for school. Believe me, as a kindergarten teacher, I'm always worrying about my babies when they're going out for lunch recess. So parents may be driving the children to school and not realizing, oh, let's see, they're going to go out for recess later. They need boots, you know, in the winter time, snow pants, warm coat. So, well, this is really distracting, isn't it? Sorry. So please have your children dressed appropriately for the weather. Some people are only thinking, oh, they're just going to walk from the school bus into the school doors. But we do have recess in a normal school year. We have recess at lunchtime. So either before or after lunch, children do go outside. All of them do. Also, being dressed appropriately also refers to the clothes that the children are wearing. And these topics are covered in the elementary handbook that all parents should be reading at the beginning of the school year. So shirts that depict drug use, alcohol, weapons, anything violent, that's not appropriate for school, and it is in the district elementary handbook. So when we say dressed appropriately, we're talking about weather, but also what is appropriate clothing for an elementary school. Okay, we can go on. Okay, be in communication with your child's teacher. Super important for family involvement and just to stay on top of everything throughout the school year. Make sure that the school and your child's teacher have your current address, phone number, email. Sometimes it does happen that phone service, gets lost or disconnected for different reasons. Make sure that the school still has a way of getting a hold of you. So sometimes families move or change their phone number and they forget to notify the school. Of course, that's when your child is going to get sick and we need to reach you. So please make sure all of this is, a parent has a question about clothing. I want to say it is below 10 degrees. I think is that correct, Carla? Do you know? If it's below 10 degrees, they do not go out for recess. I know
I'm not sure of the exact temperature, but principals do have that information. And so just reach out to your school directly for that information. We'll definitely have time towards the end to answer the questions. So Chris, if you just want to probably go to through the presentation, and we'll definitely have time at the end to answer those.
Okay, all right. I also want to talk about keeping emergency contacts updated with the school. Sometimes, a parent is busy, a parent is at work in a meeting, but the school may have a very urgent reason to get a hold of someone in the family. I might have a 5-year-old with a high fever and vomiting. The poor child does not want to be in the nurse's office for 2 hours. They need a parent to come get them. So please make sure that we have the means of contacting somebody to come pick up the child. Also reading emails and newsletters from the teacher, school, PTO, district. I know this year has been a year where everyone has been inundated with emails. There's a lot to read, but please do take the time each day to read them so that you do not miss important information. I'm not sure if it's in this slide or the next one. Oh, well, let's go back just so that I can see. Carla's working the PowerPoint for me. I do want to make a comment about email addresses. This year especially, but we don't know, for how long we'll be in this situation of needing to do so much remotely. I personally teach remote dual language kindergarten. What has been very helpful for me this year and for families is if there are multiple people on different days taking care of the child, or say, for example, when communication goes out from a school, we usually only use the email that is in the household contact. But it may be that the parents live in two different households, and maybe the child is with one parent part of the week and the other parent the other part of the week. But one of those parents is probably missing a lot of information. So what has been helpful this year is that I have had parents say, or I will suggest, may we include this person in the email list so they also get the information from the teacher. So my email list this year includes parents in different households, grandparents. So my email list is long, but I'm making sure everybody gets the information. If that happens to be your situation this year or next year or the following year, please know that you can speak up and ask that multiple people in your family get the emails. So we're not missing somebody. Okay, we can go on. Other parts of being involved, family involvement means attending parent-teacher conferences, but also other meetings such as curriculum night. As much as possible, attend school events with your family. Children love it when their parents go with them to the school for an event. And every elementary school is different. We have different things going on. A lot of that depends on our PTO, what events are planned during a year. But please try to attend some of these events. If a response is requested in school communications, if the school needs information from families, please respond as quickly as possible. And I put this in bold. Please, please, please ask your child about school, how things are going, not just with school and the teacher, but also friendships. Please get to know the names of your child's friends at school. Okay, we can go on. Super important. Please do not wait until parent-teacher conferences to ask questions. So a lot of schools don't have parent-teacher conferences until October. This year, my elementary school did not have conferences until January. School starts in August. Please do not suffer worrying about something or thinking that you're not doing something right without contacting the teacher early on. You can be contacting the teacher from the first day of school. If you want to sit down and meet with the teacher, don't think you have to wait until parent-teacher conferences. Please speak up before that time. Parent-teacher conferences are a time for the teacher to talk about what he or she sees is going well in class, socially, academically, what areas need to be worked on. But if you have a concern, don't leave it until then. Also, please ask if your child should attend parent-teacher conferences. Some teachers specifically want the student there, and they try to have the student share information. Do keep in mind that if you have a bunch of little ones, and our conferences are usually packed one after the other. So it might be easier to have childcare arranged for other students, or other children in the family rather. I personally don't have any issues having little ones come into my parent-teacher conferences. But that is my opinion as a teacher. Sure to check with yours. Also, if you need an interpreter for conferences or any other kind of meeting, please speak up. Not at the last minute, but if you know, because we as a school district need time to find an interpreter. In this district, we do have many people that can interpret for some languages, not all. If we can't provide an interpreter, please know you can always bring a family member or friend to any parent-teacher conference or any other kind of meeting. That is your right. So if you are more comfortable having a friend with you or a family member to help interpret, please do that. Señora, vamos a contestar las preguntas al final. Okay. Communication, key to effective advocacy. You can go ahead to the next screen. Thank you. Okay. All of this is part of advocacy, the communication piece. So be sure to find out, and this is for every year, not just this year, next year, the year after, every school year, find out which method of communication the teacher prefers. Teachers are different across the district. Some prefer email, some use Seesaw, some use Class Dojo. There are other apps. So make sure that you are familiar with the app or email that your teacher wants to use. Not be afraid to ask questions. That's what we're here for. In fact, when a parent asks me a question, sometimes I'm thinking, oh, that's a good question. I need to send an email out to all my parents, because if one has that question, probably other parents do too. It's not a problem to ask the teacher a question or to get something clarified. That helps me as a teacher, because not only do I need to be concerned about my students, I'm also concerned if the parents understand what their what is expected of them at home, how they can help their children. So don't be afraid to ask questions. It actually helps the teacher. Also, okay, I'm going to go into more detail on the next slide about what kind of information we teachers especially need from parents. Okay, and it's a lot, but this is important. So in the category of health, safety, social, emotional well-being, at the beginning of the year, you are always sharing information with the school nurse on those health forms. But please, if there are issues such as allergies, make sure that you are also sharing that information with the classroom teacher. There can be a little bit of a lag between, at the beginning of the year when we have so much information, or the school nurses do, to input into the computer system. We teachers need that information immediately. So if there are allergies such as to peanuts, tree nuts, bites, stings, please share that with the classroom teacher. Also, medicines. Now this is district policy, so this is district-wide. Children cannot be carrying medicine around in their backpack. If you're, I'm sorry, I've got a dog distracting me off to one side. He wants OUT. Okay, I'm on medicines. Yes. If it is a prescription medicine, for example, a medication for ADHD, just to give that as an example. The policy is yes, the school nurse can dispense that, but only with the doctor's permission. It will be like a prescription. There's a specific form that must be filled out, and the school nurse keeps the medication in the nurse's office. Things like cough medicine, I can't give that to your child. So if your child is needing cough medicine, and that's just over the counter, the best we can say is you give it to your child before school and know that they're not going to get that during the school day. Okay, so I, as a teacher, cannot give students medication. The nurse dispenses medication with a doctor's prescription. Okay, so that is policy district-wide. I also want to talk about food prohibitions for religious reasons. Please share this with your child's teacher. So perhaps a family does not eat pork. It's not just important for the lunch ladies to know or for you to have access to the menus to know if pork is an ingredient. Please also share this information with the classroom teacher. Why? Because in a normal year, we have classroom parties, usually a fall party, winter party, Valentine's Day party. If I know that a family cannot eat pork, I, as a teacher, am going to be checking ingredients to make sure something like gelatin is not an ingredient. Also, this is, even if a family does not have any food prohibitions, please know that this does happen quite often. So your child's classmates might not be allowed to eat certain foods, or they might have severe allergies to these foods. Peanut allergies, these can be life and death. So we don't take them lightly. If your classroom teacher says we have a peanut allergy in this classroom, please take it seriously. This is also why the district has the policy that treats for classroom parties must be store-bought. I, as a teacher, if there's an allergy, I need to be able to read the ingredients. So also, holidays that are not celebrated for religious reasons. Please, if your family has objections to celebrating or participating in certain holidays, please communicate that at the beginning of the school year with your child's teacher. I wonder how detailed I should go. For example, if I have a family that is not able, for example, is not comfortable celebrating anything related to Thanksgiving. This came up, this is an example from this year, for example. We had an art project. Multiple teachers decided to do this. It was just a family art project with a turkey. But the family was not comfortable doing the turkey art project. I understand that because the family shared this with me ahead of time. I already had an owl for the child. There are always ways that a teacher can adapt the lessons to make sure that everybody's views are respected. But a teacher needs to know that. So please share that at the beginning of the school year each year, if that is the situation in your family. Also, other families, please understand that this is federal law, So a teacher needs to respect multiple religious practices, the different religions that we have in our classes. Also, please let us know if there are any problems with name calling or bullying. Make sure that you contact us right away. Don't wait a week thinking about it. Speak up. Also, please let us know if there are other things that come up that might impact your child's learning. It can be family situations, a tragedy, divorce, suddenly being homeless. Please let the teacher know, because these events greatly impact a child's learning. when they are distraught, when they are so upset, they are not able to focus on school. And honestly, my concern is first for the social emotional well-being of a child. They don't learn when they're upset. Please let us know if something big is happening. Every family situation is unique. Maybe you don't need this information right now. Maybe you will in a couple years. Please keep it in mind. Communicate with the school. Okay, next slide. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm talking too much. Okay, academics. This communication goes two ways. So the previous slide was about information that we are asking you to provide the teacher. On this slide, everything could be, you may be hearing this from the teacher, or you may be sharing it with the teacher. Progress in the different subject areas, reading, math, what have you. If you have a concern, speak up. It may be the teacher having a concern and speaking to you. If you notice problems like your child really is struggling with a certain kind of homework, let the teacher know. Speech and language services. This is just an example, but if you have a concern, or if the teacher has a concern, he or she will contact you. Speech would be articulation, such as can they pronounce all the letters, all the sounds, I should say. Language would be if they are behind their peers in grammar, vocabulary. Sometimes when it's your first child, you might not be aware that a child might be behind in speech and language. Oh, that startled me. But certainly if you have concerns, you don't even have to wait until kindergarten. Even prior to that, you can ask the school district for a speech evaluation. Gross motor and fine motor development. If a child has what's called an IEP, an individualized education plan, which means they're already receiving services under the umbrella of special education, then we can provide therapy in school. There's an occupational therapist. If your child doesn't have an IEP, but you have concerns, we can still have the therapist in the classroom to observe and share suggestions or recommendations with both the classroom teacher and the parent. So if you have concerns in this area, do speak up. You know, there's the expression, what is it? The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Okay, so if you're quiet and never say anything, nothing's going to happen. If you speak up, that's when we see action. Now, it may still be the classroom teacher that brings these concerns to you, but if you have concerns, bring them to the classroom teacher. I do want to mention IEPs and 504s. Okay, this falls under federal law. Special education services are federally protected. They are a child's right. So if a child needs extra help, perhaps they have a disability within reading or a disability in another academic subject, a child has the right to get extra help. Either the classroom teacher can bring this up or a parent can bring this up. It is a process. But know that if we have concerns, we can work together to meet the child's needs. A 504 I want to mention is when a child does not have an IEP, does not qualify for an IEP, but may need accommodations in other areas. So this is, again, federal law. An example of a 504 accommodation may be that a particular child, for a specific reason, needs extra time on tests. So maybe all the other children in a grade level have to take a certain test within 1 hour because it's normed on 1 hour. But if a child has a special need, an accommodation may be that they can take the test spread out over 2 days, or they can have a couple breaks in the middle of taking the test. This is just an example. I want you to know that these exist though. An IEP, by the way, must be the least restrictive environment. This is again something from federal law. So a child may have many special needs in multiple areas: academic, fine motor, gross motor, speech, but we always want to keep the child as much as possible with their peers. So that's what is meant by least restrictive environment. You may notice that your child has a classmate that has a lot of needs, and some parents are wondering, but I know that kid can't do the work that my child is doing. Well, know that that child that you're wondering about probably can't do the same work, but they have an individualized education plan that the classroom teacher follows by law. So work is adapted specifically to that child's needs. Okay, we can go on. Am I talking too much, Carla? You can nod. No? Okay. Communicating effectively. So there are 2 parts to this. There is the how in communication. So that's your tone of voice and body language. So I put this little figure in here of the person with their hands on the hips. Different people interpret that in different ways. So if you might see someone standing like that and think, ooh, they're really angry. But maybe they are very focused and committed to what is being talked about, or they might be very tired. People pay attention more to tone of voice and body language than they pay attention to the words being spoken. So we do want to be aware of our tone of voice. Just as an example, the sentence, why was she suspended? Let's use that. By putting emphasis, your tone of voice changing on different words, think about how your message is being interpreted. So if a parent says, why was she suspended? Or why was she suspended? Or why was she suspended? It sends a message. So the listener might be thinking, oh, this parent or this guardian may already have a specific idea about what the situation is. So think about tone of voice. Next slide is a what. Think about the purpose of your communication. So if you are emailing or sending a message, calling the teacher, are you calling to get information or share a concern? Choose your words carefully. So we don't want to use words that are going to heat up a situation. We want to keep communication flowing. So think about how will the listener or the reader of an email interpret your message. Keep it simple. If you can, give examples, repeat your point, and ask questions. You want communication to flow. Okay, next slide. Ask questions of the teacher, of the school administration, which is your principal and assistant principal, and of the district administration. Listen to what they are saying when you ask questions. And then you might want to repeat what you are hearing. Ask more questions to clarify, to make sure you understand the teacher's perspective or the district perspective. And honestly, when you're asking questions and get an answer, that may be all you need. Sometimes that's only the first step and you need to keep going. Next slide. Resolving conflicts with schools. Oh, okay. As I mentioned earlier, if you have a question or a concern, speak up. Always, the sooner the better. So make sure you are asking questions. That's the clarify. Get the other side's perspective. And make sure you understand what their perspective is. It does not mean that you need to agree with that perspective, but make sure you understand it. And then find common ground. Oftentimes, when you give more information, because now you see their side, their perspective, but you have more information to share, that might change their view. Or they might, oh, okay, we do need to figure out a different way around this. So please speak up. Okay, next slide. There is always more than one way to solve a problem. And this is the mantra that I shared with my son all the way through his life. There is always more than one way to solve a problem. So start where you feel the conflict originated. And if that was with the teacher or in the classroom, start with the teacher. If you feel that you are not getting anywhere and you feel strongly about this, the next step is the principal or the assistant principal. Okay. Do not be afraid of contacting the principal or assistant principal. This is your right. You are the parents. If this is still not getting the being resolved in a way that you feel you need it resolved, keep going up. Yes, you can go up the chain of command. The next step would be the superintendent. For example, that Let's Talk button. That Let's Talk button on the district website is for issues small and big. Also, make sure you are thinking more about this. Re-examine your goals. Have you gotten stuck on one point and you are not actually resolving the problem? Sometimes emotions get heated and we get sidetracked. Stay on point. Also, network with other families that have been in similar situations. How did they handle it? What advice do they have? And of course, the most extreme example is to look into legal resources if it gets to that point. I don't feel that something should go that far, but every situation is different. Preparing yourself for meetings. So parent-teacher conferences, service team meetings, such as if your child is being considered for extra services. We can keep going. Write down any questions you have in advance. So sometimes we go to a meeting and there's so much to cover and you don't get a chance to bring up your points. But if you have them written down before you go, you're ready. Make sure that you bring any documents with you may need. And again, as I mentioned earlier, you may request an interpreter and you may bring a friend or family member with you. Take notes during the meeting. Oops. Okay, be sure to really listen. Okay, so for example, a service team meeting, there may be, the teacher, speech therapist, special ed resource teacher, principal, nurse there. Make sure you listen to each person, but then make sure that you are heard. If there is, or this may have been a meeting that you called for. Make sure that issues are followed up. If you are asked to sign papers, you may do so, or you may ask for more time to think about it. Just make sure that if you are delaying signing papers, for example, for your child to get extra resources, that is time that your child is losing from getting those resources. Clarify the points in the meeting and make sure you follow up. Oh, good, I got to my examples. Okay, you can go ahead. I came up with 3 examples for, can you record the meeting? Oh, I'll answer these at the end. Thank you. I came up with 3 examples, one when you would address the teacher, one the school administration, and the third at the district level. So we have the situation. It is October and Matthew's teacher is using figures of jack-o'-lanterns on the math worksheets and in the math center. The problem is that Matthew's family does not celebrate Halloween. They are very uncomfortable with what Matthew is being asked to do. Solution. Simple solution, talk to the teacher. Matthew's mom explains the concern to the teacher. The teacher provides Matthew with different worksheets and math center work, which address the same concepts being taught. So keep in mind, when we're doing math, this is just an example. Oftentimes teachers like to have the worksheets decorated with a theme and a holiday that's coming up. That is not the objective of the lesson or the objective being covered in a worksheet. That's just cute stuff around it. If I am trying to teach the children addition, I can use different manipulatives, different worksheets to get those objectives across. I do not have to have it a Halloween theme or a Christmas theme. So parents, if your religion does not allow your child to participate in certain holidays, by law, the teacher must make those accommodations to the worksheets or the work being done, okay? Okay, next example. Okay, Dante's bus drops him off at his bus stop after school. As soon as Dante gets off the bus, he bursts into tears. So what has happened? Another boy on the bus has been hitting Dante and throwing his backpack on the floor for the last several days. But Dante didn't tell his parents right away. He just let this build up, right? Parent or guardian, contact the school administration. Okay, anything that is happening on the bus or at a bus stop, that falls under the school's purview. So misbehaviors going on, school administration needs to know about it. So the administrator gathers information from the parent and both boys. Administrator talks with the bus driver, and the solution may be that the other boy is specifically assigned a permanent seat on the bus. Okay, so that's when you would contact the administrator. Next one. Okay, Julie attended a 2-way dual language kindergarten at her home school. Okay, a home school is where you live within a certain attendance area. You know, the school, boy, I can't speak English or Spanish now. So where you live, your child has an assigned home school. So Julie was attending her homeschool, dual language 2-way. During the summer, the family moved to a different neighborhood. So that's the situation. The problem is that when her parents registered her for 1st grade at her new homeschool, the secretary informs them that there isn't a dual language program at the school and places her in a general education class. Okay, the child's already been in dual language. Solution: parents contact the district's ELL department. Julie is provided with transportation to an elementary school that does have a dual language program. We don't want children's education to be interrupted. There is a specific planned route or process within the dual language program. So how sad if a child starts the dual language program and then all of a sudden that's interrupted. So please speak up. We do want the children to remain in the program. So if you encounter this situation, that's when you go straight to a district department for help. Okay, and remember, families and schools share the same goals, academic progress, and social emotional well-being of your child. So this is a team effort. Please don't ever be afraid of speaking up and asking questions of your child's teacher. Yay, and I got through it. Did I take too long? I didn't. Okay. I feel like I've been talking on a lot. All right, parents, questions. I will do my best to answer them.
Thank you so much, Krista, for the presentation and the information. It was very, very, very informative, very helpful. Thank you for sharing all these tips that we can definitely put into practice as we continue to guide our children through their educational journey here within U46. Please, if you have questions, place them in the chat box. I know there was questions throughout the presentation. I tried to answer some of these. You know, this presentation is being recorded. So everyone who registered will get the direct link to the recording, and you will also get a link to the PDF copy of the presentation. Let me see, let me go through this and see. Yes, this is all great information. And so this is information that actually comes from various departments in their district. So our staff district-wide is aware of all these great resources and ways that our parents can be more involved. Someone is asking about the speech evaluation services from U46. As Krista mentioned earlier, the process to go through that. Krista, if you want to review that one more time.
Sure. If your child is already a student in the school, start with what you can do it both ways. You can start with the classroom teacher, because the classroom teacher quite often is right down the hallway from the speech therapist. There is a form that we fill out, and let me tell you, secret here, if you are requesting a speech evaluation, it happens much more quickly than if I, the teacher, am wondering, ooh, if I should refer the child. I write on the form that this is a parent request. So I would start with your child's classroom teacher. You can also contact the school office and ask for the contact information for the speech therapist if you need it. If you have a child, for example, 4 years old, not in school yet and not in the preschool program, contact the home school to request a speech evaluation. Did I answer the question? Okay.
Yes, you did. And also remember that that our elementary and secondary schools have a special education administrator assigned to the schools in case you have direct questions for them.
I do want to mention, I'm sorry, now my cat is meowing. I have a house full of pets. Boys, okay. I do want to remind everyone that, okay, this is information that you got this evening. Maybe you don't need this information yet, but you may need it next year or the year after, or maybe another family member with a child in the school district needs this information, or your neighbor needs this information, please make sure other people know about it. Spread the word. Also, family involvement does not stop at the elementary school. It may look a little bit differently at the middle school and high school levels, but you don't stop being a parent at 6th grade. If you have concerns that come up in middle school and high school, if you have questions, please, please ask your children's teachers.
Thank you, everyone. We have a lot of thank yous, Krista. Information very, very helpful.
I noticed there was a parent asking about learning to speak English. I don't know the background. Just know that okay, there are several programs in the district. So a child is in the dual language program, and I don't know if this student was, but there is a specific plan for dual language. So we start off 80% Spanish, 20% English. So the next year, 30% English, 70% Spanish. That's how the dual language program is specifically designed. And there's a reason for that. So every year, the children do get more English instruction until it's 50-50. They do get reading instruction in both languages as they are progressing. Kindergarten, we start off in Spanish literacy, but it builds every year. Or I don't know if this parent, perhaps their child is in the ESL program. We have specific schools that have English as a second language programs. And the reason for that is we don't have teachers that speak every language in the district. We have enough that speak Spanish to maintain a dual language program. But we have so many languages represented among the families in this district. Children from other language backgrounds have the legal right to receive English as a second language services, and those are at specific schools. For example, I teach at Nature Ridge, but right down the street we have Liberty Elementary that has a specific ESL program. So those teachers are trained, they are teaching in English, but they are working with children who speak English as a second language. Okay, so those services are there. If your child is struggling with English and they're not in the dual language program and they are not in that ESL program, I would even suggest contacting the ELL department for guidance. That would be a situation where you could go up to a department and ask for additional assistance. Who knows, maybe somebody dropped the ball somewhere and this child should be receiving services and isn't. I don't know, I'm just giving examples.
We had quite a few questions with regards to special education services, whether it was speech therapy, 504s, or IEPs. We do have a webinar that we did deliver earlier in the school year that is available on our U46 Engage website. I'll put the link in the chat box, but please feel free to visit that webinar as well. There will also be a link to the copy of the presentation, and that will include contact information about that and exactly who to go to for questions in case we weren't able to answer your question tonight. But thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for your questions. We'll stick around, but we definitely appreciate everyone who was able to join us today.
Yes, thank you very, very much for coming. See, just by coming, you are already involved.
Thank you.
Part of advocacy.